welcome to this special edition of ABN Cast. We're recording it at the Predictive Aircraft Maintenance Conference, which ABN has been running for the past few years, but we're doing our first edition in APAC in Singapore this week. It's just finished. Lunch is going on behind us. There's some noise and buzz of the conversation continuing. I'm joined by Joop Arnold, who is of STRADE. You founded and you're the CEO of STRADE. Sorry, yes, pronounced it correctly. Just start off by telling us what STRADE is. You're a marketplace for components and spare parts.
So it literally is what it is. So we enable sellers of parts, buyers of parts to seamlessly buy and sell parts, but also exchange parts. And so what we did is we said, in this market, there is no visibility on the availability of parts, not on the price, and we wanted to change that. So we started out of Azure Technics, large MRO, and we said with all the components that Azure Technics has, stopping the component services business. So we should do something with these parts that are lying there. We should do something different in this industry.
Before the likes of you came along, what was the way that parts were traded then? How did it happen?
Cool, and the behavior is still there. It's a bit of desperation. So we're talking about it as well these 2 days here. It's like, even in predictive aircraft maintenance, if you know that you're going to need a part, where do you get it? And the typical behavior very much is panicky.
And it could be short term as well, because
it can be.
You could need it like now, or at least in a week.
Literally now. Some of that's plannable. But some of that is really immediate and imminent.
Reactive.
It is. And what you typically see, and we're referring to that as like the range anxiety of electric vehicles, right? So it's that anxiety and that fear that's driving a lot of the behavior. So you asked how is it typical, or how was it before we came along, or others as well? The typical behavior is, I just send an email to 200 people that may have my part. I don't know if they have the part.
You know what?
I think they may have the part. Let's see. And then you need to go through dozens of RFQs if you're lucky. If you're not lucky, there's maybe only one or two responding. And you may get the part you're looking for.
It's funny. I see that myself. I've obviously got myself on some list somewhere. So there's an airline, I won't name who, because it could be slightly embarrassing, who send out regular requests for parts. But I think on the other side, I get people who have got parts who are saying, we've got these parts now, who wants them? And you think, really? You're sending it on email? I mean, actually, if I'm getting the email, who else is getting this email? I mean, it seems an astonishing way to go about things in the modern age.
Exactly that. That's the part. And the thing is that, so there's parts of the markets not seeing each other. And that is really, it is feeding frenzy for all intermediaries. Because that is where they make their living. But just yesterday.
When you say intermediaries, sorry, in this, you're talking about sort of brokers and
those indeed.
Middlemen who are, they bring some value, I guess. Otherwise, they wouldn't.
Many of them don't. Many of them don't, with the exception of they do know what you can't apparently unlock as an end user yourself.
Right.
And it shouldn't be that difficult, but this market is so fragmented. It is so crazy how many people are solving a very tiny part of the puzzle. Or have a tiny spot in large infrastructure in this supply chain. And it is insane that you cannot just go somewhere and actually find the part that you're looking for. And it is still enabling these brokers to exist.
On stage a few times, it was referenced like we need a sort of like an Amazon. For spare parts. Or I think in your presentation you talked about Airbnb or something like that, which is more the sharing economy. Is that how does what you do and what these sort of marketplaces that are emerging, how do they relate to Amazon and Airbnb in terms of how you operate? So is there similarity?
There's similarities, but there's also difference. I think that the similarity with Amazon, what I like is that what I believe in is, and that's a strong point for STRADE in our positioning, is that we have basically one foot in technology, but the other foot strongly in also having a physical distribution.
Right.
Because being a pure tech player, it becomes difficult to actually supply parts to airlines. You also need to have the credentials. We are ASA 100 certified, EN 9120 certified. We're on the approved supplier list of hundreds of customers out there, which makes us credible. We have a background in aviation. We know what we're talking about. We have engineers as well, product line managers, and they know the product.
So your delivery,
we're also
like Amazon. You've got the delivery side as well.
And that's both sides that play a role. So Amazon couldn't do without the physical distribution. But they couldn't do without their online marketplace either. So I think that's the role that we are playing as well. Really having a foot in both parts of the equation.
One of the other things about something like Amazon, and it was mentioned a number of times, is on Amazon you've got a price, right? There's almost like a recommended retail price equivalent. the moment in this sector, there's not really a price. It's it is, as was said a few times, what are you prepared to pay? How desperate are you? There's a desperation element to it. So, I mean, that would benefit the seller, I guess. The seller can always bid up the price if they, especially in a current situation where supply chains are challenged. That'll only bid up the price. So
it should be something that's only rewarded short term.
Yeah.
But at the moment, it's not only short term; it's actually long term. So this behavior has been there for decades.
Yeah.
But you're right; that's the benefit of sellers at the moment. But we said as well earlier today, what is fair in the fair market value? There's nothing fair about that because there's no value added by that.
Yeah.
And it's just you leverage the desperation that is there. You know that you can afford to ask that high a price, or actually the fair price would be a different one. And if predictive maintenance holds any value, you're better able to steer what you're going to need and when you're going to need it.
Yeah.
All of the end users out there should be able to actually transparently see the price, but also benefit from buying it at the right price. I mean, oil prices, of course, so there is supply and demand dynamics, and that makes sense. It's the same with the oil price or any commodity out there.
Yeah. Price always fluctuates with demand.
Yes, but there is a small spread, not a huge spread, on the price that the buyer is willing to pay and the seller is willing to take.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk more about how this relates to predictive in a minute. But the other bit, when you said you were talking about sort of the Amazonization of this and sort of commoditization of parts, we are in a situation where the supply chain challenges are here, and it was said earlier that it's here to stay. Obviously, COVID did COVID create them, or did COVID just expose what was already there? Do you think? I mean, and is that now the new norm?
So I think a bit of both. Yeah, they did expose a bit of the weakness in the supply chain, but what it really triggered, I think, and that's the most fundamental part, is also the number of skilled workers that actually have left the industry. Yeah, and that has been very, very hard to regain for all shops and for OEMs out there.
Yeah.
So there is real bottlenecks. It's not only exposing weakness that was already there in the system, but it's also exposing weakness that was already there.
Yeah.
You see as well, 2-3 years ago, there was a lot of talk around regionalization, building more resilient supply chains. I don't see that really has taken effect just yet.
What's that? That's bringing manufacturing more locally.
More locally.
You see it with additive technologies where you can now manufacture a part overnight. You don't have to you have to order thousands to make it efficient.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's things like that are happening, but that's not happening really. I don't think.
No, not really. So they expose some of that, and some of that behavior is there to stay. I would agree.
Yeah. So predictive then, you don't do predictive as such, but you're part of the ecosystem in which predictive will have an impact, of course. So we've spent a day and a half talking about really predictive and what that does. How does that predictive play into what you do then?
Yeah, so it's really about foresight, right? So I said yesterday, I made a point about one thing is knowing what parts you need. And it is one thing to know that the moment it happens. It's even better if you know it in advance.
Yeah.
You should, by knowing in advance, you should be able to also leverage your options. That's the second part, is how can I source smarter? So, and the last thing we're talking about is the sharing economy, but it's giving and getting.
Okay.
Referring to the power grid as an example.
Yeah.
Saying when you have overcapacity, give back to the network.
Yeah.
And when you need it, you can take it.
So you see this you could do this in parts per aircraft then?
Definitely.
So it's not it's not a buy-sell relationship, it's a share, or you can borrow or a lend for a certain amount of time.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think that's where the predictive part comes in.
Yeah.
If that does lead to more no-fault funds or to more unused returns, in a way that shouldn't matter. If the total amount of inventory held in the industry comes down, then we can free up the cash that way. And it should be an easy price to pay. And to say, well, actually, I took 4 parts, but I only needed 1.
Yeah.
But I only took it for 2 or 3 days.
Okay. That's the crazy thing at the minute. You've got the supply chain constraints. You've got the hoarding of parts by those who can, I suppose. But if they were doing predictive more, they know they wouldn't need to hoard the parts more.
Well, that's the thing.
It's kind of the key to open this up, isn't it?
Yeah, you should. Yeah. But it's also the trust, right? So if you don't, and there's too many bad examples there.
Yeah.
If you don't know whether the parts are really there, if you go onto ILS and you only get a list of potential people that do have it, there have been situations where we saw 7 parties listing a part, and we knew for a fact we were the only ones to have it.
Okay.
So if you are confronted with these situations, and there have been the rogue parts, there's this ghost inventory, if that is the reputation of USM in the market, it is not surprising that operators are not yet willing to de-risk. Or actually, they are de-risking, so they're not willing to take the risk. And what you do is actually you trigger hoarding. Why? You build your protection mechanisms. And that makes sense. If you're responsible for dispatch reliability and you can't rely just yet on the open market, I would do the same.
The road hard scandal is such a disaster, wasn't it? It just undermines trust entirely.
It does. It's one bad apple. But it does undermine the entire trust in the entire system.
The impact it had, I mean, just astonishing. How the number of engines in and impacted the number of aircraft.
2 years ago, I was at the World Aviation Festival. I think we spoke for 60% of the time, we spoke about fuel. 40% of the time about aircraft delivery and people shortage in the industry. And the only time that components were mentioned at the World Aviation Festival was road parts.
It was the newsworthy.
It was news today. It was talking to town.
The talent issue mentioned, the impact here when we're talking about there's just not enough people. If a part need repairing or use the serviceable material come back into the market, there's just not the people to do that. That's the other problem that the industry has. Is that
there is, and we see that as well. So what we like and what we hear a lot from our customers is that new tools, amongst those are ours, and make it easy for people to actually enter the market. So historically, it's been very difficult. A lot of paperwork. You need to be very well trained. You still need to be. But digital tools can make it a lot easier to enter the industry. So by us making the paperwork immediately visible and having in our interface kind of the data points you need to make your decision, that enables, it's also what we hear back from customers, also people that are new to the industry, to get up to speed fast, to apply what they know already from their day-to-day purchasing behavior from platforms and marketplace they interact with as a consumer, and to actually see that now as well in the industry. So that has made it easier.
Again, there's technological solutions to that, to give an inexperienced engineer just the tools, whether that's access to AI or whatever, giving the tools to give everybody the confidence that they can do the job.
Yeah, we saw the same. So that's right. But the time that it used to take to analyze a shop finding report, or even to check a cert, by now we're just reading them out automatically, and everything is populated automatically. And that literally is reducing the time to 2 seconds instead of what could have taken hours before. And if you can do that at scale, it's enabling us to work a lot faster, to work smarter, to actually acquire the data. Something like that really enables us to be a lot more efficient.
So where do you see this digital marketplace sector going? There's a few out there. Is it a kind of does it need there to be one big winner in this, like an Amazon, or actually is it going to be useful for the airline industry to have an ecosystem of marketplaces, but they somehow they compete, they cooperate at the same time?
It's an excellent question. I don't think. It used to be said a lot like the winner takes all kind of in marketplaces. And often it actually is a winner takes most, and there's many marketplaces around that solve for one particular niche, or very good at one specific thing.
Or regional maybe.
Yeah, could be as well. So there's all these kind of nuances in there. And what I do think is that when you're not competing on having the part, and that's in our case, so we enable the trade. And I don't think that it really matters. And for us, it would make sense that there is also their consolidation. I do agree with that. But most of the companies out there are targeting one specific use case. And we have been very careful in just saying, so we enable the trade. What it requires is being completely open about availability and about price. So what you see really is there. It's vetted by us that it's there. You know what the price is, and you actually can transact. So far, most of the other marketplaces out there, actually most of the digital solutions out there, and we heard a couple of them today as well, and still end with send an RFQ. So what you do is you've built a beautiful interface, you've invested millions in actually developing something you call a marketplace, and in the end, you have to go there as a customer. You go there, you still end by clicking hit RFQ button. And you go back to Outlook to actually manage your process. Now then there is other companies trying to solve for that. But this one unifying marketplace is not yet there, and I think there is a position for us there.
Is there, I don't know, you may do this already, but with any digital marketplaces, you can do the reverse marketplace model as well, where I, as an airline, need something. I know what I need, obviously, and I go, right, who's got it? Bid for my business.
Yes.
And I'll take the best one.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's always that we enable buyers and sellers. So we really foster both sides of the medal.
Right.
You asked before, like, how does this compare to an Airbnb? And I don't want to go into all the nuances of the sharing economy, but the concept, and that's why I like the analogy of the power grid, and the concept of being able to say, hey, I have this. I don't temporarily or permanently need it.
Yeah.
So make it available for the rest of the world to actually use and utilize that.
Yeah.
You can make a bit of money on stuff that otherwise was idle in your warehouse. And by doing this smarter, you also don't feed the industry with stock that is bought at the too low point. That's one moment you lose money. And with an industry that feeds off, you sell it again at a high point. And actually, as an airline or as an owner of those assets, you're hurting twice. You get too low value the moment that you're forced to sell it. And you pay too high a price the moment that you need a part.
It sounds complex, actually. Well, it sounds like it adds complexity. But I guess what the promise of modern technology is and AI, it solves for complexity, I guess.
So I think it may sound simple to just say, well, I have a bunch of leftover units here. Let's see what the market pays for it. That part is simple. I do agree. But I mean, it is also simple to just put your parts on the marketplace these days. The power of technology is there. So it really is as easy as just adding or removing a part. And you just say, I don't want to expose this anymore. Remove it from the marketplace. I do want to actually add this unit. Just put it on there. It's really makes
it more dynamic and democratized, isn't it?
Absolutely. But it also makes it more flexible. So before we were talking about the level of trust and risk taking. If you have given away control of your units, you have also given away the flexibility to still use them if you needed them. So what this also enables is to say, well, I temporarily want to give back to the system, but I can switch that off at any point in time. So we spoke with MROs, actually an airline with own shops. And they said, well, there are some parts that we know we have very seasonal demand. We don't fill our shop in some parts of the year, and we have own demand on these parts in the peak season. How can we do that? And we said, well, it's very easy. You can, at any point in time, you can just say, now they're no longer available. In the prior days, you would have to actually say, either I hold on to this unit, that means your cash is sunk in your inventory, or I'm willing to actually sell them as surplus.
When they're gone.
But they were not surplus. They're just not used. They're idle for a large part of the year. So I think that kind of dynamic and that giving and taking is what it needs to get costs down, to get inventory levels down, and to unlock that potential.
Well, you said earlier, predictive, and this is what obviously the last couple of days was about. It is essentially the key to unlock lots of things in the aviation, to operate more effectively and efficiently. And a lot of the discussions was about how ineffective and inefficient we are by nature at the moment. So having been here for the last day and a half, I think at the end there, it was said that predictive's now gone beyond sort of the theory, and it seems to be in use. We had some amazing, really good case studies on stage the last couple of days. Is that how you feel that we've moved from theory into practicality now with predictive, and is that now here to stay? We're on a path to bringing predictive more into the industry, and it's going to stay and be more influential in how operations.
I certainly hope so. Because it does make logical sense. With so much sensor data out there, being able to actually predict with better models, machine learning, etc. And I do agree with the observation that we moved from just a random promise of what theoretically should be there to actual cases. Was impressive to see. What it still is, though, it is hard-earned individual cases. And it's not yet at scale.
No.
And what struck me is it's all very much within a certain box. So it is one airline with their supplier presenting that one use case on one component that they solve this for. It's not yet at scale.
No. Okay.
And we're still not at a level that we have the trust in the industry to actually share that data, to democratize the data, because others could benefit from the data as well.
The industry, aviation tends to be good. It does share data. It does share learning, especially in safety. And obviously there can be a safety element in this as well. So the industry is used to that. It has got a well-known, it's notorious almost for being good at sharing on that level. So there's hope that sharing can happen. Final thought on where we are. We came to Singapore because it's the APAC region, and obviously There's a lot of flying goes on in this region, a lot of new fleets, lots of innovation. So do you see innovation really coming from this part of the world?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I think we see two very strong things here. One, we spoke about as well, it's a very young fleet. There's also many very talented people working on that. And that comes with own challenges. It also means that the first couple of years of operating an aircraft, everything is kind of dictated. And now that's the second thing. It's opening up to an aftermarket that was not previously really familiar with.
Yeah.
We spoke about how large is the appetite for USM. And I didn't like too much the negative spin around it, now operators are forced to start using USM.
Yeah.
No, I actually think that there's very high quality standards in this region. There's a very strong belief of safety and trust also towards the customers. And what you now see is that they're really, with a lot of focus on data analytics, really being clever around the use of USM, is now increasing in this region as well.
Yeah.
So we see that a lot.
It's attacking a conservative mindset, but maybe errs on the overcautious. I mean,
historically, yeah,
you shouldn't be ever overcautious in aviation, but there's always a balance to be struck, isn't there?
Well, there is safety critical components and there is non-safety critical components, so you can still strike a balance that serves your needs. And I said it earlier today, you can still have a very high quality standards, but still use USM.
Yeah.
So you don't need to have a factory new unit produced by an OEM. You can also have an overhauled unit repaired by or overhauled by an OEM.
Yeah.
And still meet your quality standards. And you may not at first do that for your core engine parts, but even there we do see an increased appetite to be more cost savvy, but also to see, and that goes back to the trust point. It's just these rogue parts damage the reputation so much of USM. But if you have the traceability, if you have the quality paperwork, you can observe, is the unit really there? And the trust and the confidence in the system builds. And then also in this market, I would not say it's over-conservative. Actually, it's moving towards more clever use of all of the material out there.
Yeah. Okay, look, our time is up. Yeah, thanks for talking to us. You go on now to the MRO event down the road. Do you leave here with a sort of very positive mindset after the last couple of days?
Very, very enthused and energized. It's good to see that this kind of modern innovation really is taking off in the industry. So that's promising.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks for coming and thanks for supporting the event.
Thank you.